Hello everybody, welcome to another episode of Erickson TV. Curtis here with Lauren. Hey Lauren.
Hey everybody.
Hey Lauren, our last episode, which if you haven't seen it, I highly encourage our audience to take a look at it, was called 100 or Bust.
Right, yeah.
So this one I want to call part B of that, which is 100 and Thriving.
Okay, right.
And this is not so much about the financial impacts of being 100, but one of the things that was interesting is some census people say that, talking about girls, it used to be back in 100 years ago, it was 1% of the people born in 1910 survived to be 100. Now
wow.
Some are speculating that as many as 50% of the girls born today could live to age 100, which is mind-boggling. 50%.
Wow.
So let's assume that many people watching this episode will reach 100.
Okay.
One of the things, what does it take to actually have a thriving time period?
Right.
Age 100.
Yes,
you had some
exactly.
experiences with that.
Right.
Just real quick, in this article, they say that some of the similar things they saw about people that did reach 100 was that they have made good common sense health decisions, such as not smoking and keeping their weight down. Some of the things they have is they show they have a love of life and a sense of humor, and they're very positive, but are also realistic.
Okay.
There are elements of spirituality, courage, and they have the remarkable ability to accept losses that come with age, but not stopped by them. What that means, I think, is
right.
that they lose a lot of their friends and a lot
yes.
of their relatives before they pass away. So,
right.
What were some of the experiences that you've seen?
Yeah, well, there's sort of the normal or the general vision of what life is like when you get older, and unfortunately that vision is dominated by stories about dementia or Alzheimer's. And there's even when you talk about dementia or Alzheimer's, there's still multiple different sides to it. My grandmother recently passed away on one side of the family, and at the end of her life, she had really serious dementia, and she eventually had to go into a home. But it's not like just because you get really serious dementia or really serious Alzheimer's, it's not like you just sort of don't know what's going on or have no idea of anything. What happens is that even until the very end, if you went and visited my grandmother, there would be flashes where she would be herself again. And she would remember who she was dealing with, and it was clearly her personality. And I remember my mother telling me that during one of those times when she was lucid, she was talking to my mother, and my grandmother had been put into exactly the care facility that the top one, the number one that they wanted.
Mm-hmm.
And she was telling my mother, it's a really good thing that we saved all this money, because then we can afford to have me live here. Now,
she had choices.
Yes, exactly. She had choices.
The family had choices.
Right. And in some ways, my grandmother was kind of fortunate. She died in her sleep, and she died after baking some cookies with the other people that she lived with, and she had just been talking to one of the family members about how she enjoyed baking the cookies or whatever. So she didn't die in this long, sort of drawn out suffering process. And as it turns out, she only spent, I think, maybe 6 months or a year at this assisted living facility. But she could have spent a long time there. I mean, people can spend
right.
15, 16 years sometimes in assisted living facilities. And I think that, even when we think about that side of getting older, which is dementia, having choices and options available to you still matters at that time.
Right.
It's not like that suddenly doesn't matter.
She had the financial ability to be there longer if it was her lot in life to live longer.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And then on the other side, my other grandmother, she never got dementia, she never got anything. She didn't live to 100, she did everything wrong. She ate badly, she smoked, she had a very stressful life, she did all the things you're not supposed to do. She still lived till her late 80s.
Okay.
Still.
Very. I think that's more difficult.
Right. Very, very resilient woman. And till the end of her life, her mental capacity was still there, everything was still there. But she was physically slowing down. So, what made her life happy at the end of her life? That she didn't have to go into a home, that she could live with a family member, but of course, the stress it puts on a family to take care of an older relative is impossible. So, because, again, there was money available to do it, they could hire somebody full-time to be with my grandmother. Well, once again, you have those options available to you under certain circumstances. And it changes the quality of your life dramatically to have those options available, where you can choose whether you want to go to an assisted living facility or whether you want to have somebody take care of you in a familiar home.
Right. And we have many clients that are at retirement or near retirement, and that's the number one thing that they tell me is they do not want to be a burden on their kids.
Right.
They want to be independent. They want to have decisions and choices.
Right.
And then last but not least, for them, really the bottom line for quality of life is to have the financial resources to be independent.
Right.
And that doesn't mean that they decide to go out and buy long-term care insurance. It just means that they want to grow their investments prudently to have the most choices and the most opportunities to be at that place. And so that's where we end up with 100 and thriving,
Right, yeah.
because of the independence and choices and having the ability to as they're nearing the end of their life, to be in a good place.
Right.
All right. Well, thanks, Lauren, for sharing that personal story. That was very, very interesting. And I want to thank you for watching this episode of Erickson TV.
See you next time.
All right, bye.